Good evening, everyone. Well, good evening. Happy to see you here. Welcome. This is the City of Englewood City Council Workshop Meeting, Municipal Court Building. This is October 10th, 2023, and it is 7:36 in the evening. I'm calling to order this meeting. Please, everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, it's all relative.
Okay, Yancy, could you please read the statement regarding the Open Public Meetings Act?
This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. Notice of this meeting was included in a notice sent to the Record and the Star Ledger and advertised in said newspapers on January 10th, 2023, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as the required notices under the statute. A copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Proper notice having been given, the municipal clerk is directed to include the statement in the minutes of this meeting.
Thank you, Yancy. Roll call.
Councilman Cobb?
Here.
Councilman Rosenzweig is running late. Councilman Wilson?
Present.
Councilwoman Wasatski? Present. Council President Marin.
Here.
Mayor Michael Wiles is present via telephone. He wanted me to let you know it's 1:30 a.m. where he's at, but he wanted to be here. Also present is City Manager Robert S. Hoffman, City Attorney Bill Bailey, CFO Michael Kaufman, City Engineer Franz Volsi, and City Auditor Gary Vinci.
Thank you, Yancy. Tonight, we have several presentations. Resolution 310-10-10-23. Yancy, you want to read the title?
This is a resolution, this is a welcoming resolution for the new pastor of First Baptist Church of Englewood.
Okay, do we have a motion? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion. I second.
Great. Anyone on the council that would like to say something?
Of course. We just would like to welcome Reverend or Pastor. You got somebody behind you talking to you. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Englewood. Obviously, I was at your installment and watched those proceedings. We're happy to have you. You are leading an institution, First Baptist Church of Englewood. I remember when it was on William Street and you could walk straight in, and it was led by the legendary Titan of Englewood, Isaiah Goodman. So, their history is a powerful one as one of the beacons of hope and light in this community, and we wish you well as to moving that church and congregation along, helping us move the City of Englewood forward. So welcome to you, Sister Donna, as they call you, but Asa, I knew I would mess it up like everybody else has, but I'm gonna do what everybody else has and call you Pastor Don. Oh, right? Welcome.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to add that you're more than a welcome addition. The few times we met, it felt like you've already been here. You have a kind, kindled spirit, and I had the pleasure of meeting your daughter without your husband. Welcome. We appreciate you coming to serve. You have a great congregation behind you that has rich history. I've known Miss Akridge forever. Miss Dreyfus, I used to call her as like a mom to me, so hello. And I know they can't wait for your continual guidance, and I too look forward to working with you in the congregation. So, welcome.
Okay. Mayor Wiles, who is on the phone, would also like to say something.
Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. The good pastor comes to us with a background in hospice care. I had a chance to get to know her. She's a very special person, and we wish her Godspeed as she shepherds a very important flock and part of our city. We wish you again lots of luck and love.
Thank you. Okay, we have a roll call now.
Councilman Cobb?
Absolutely.
Councilman Wilson?
Most certainly.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Welcome, yes.
Do you want the resolution to be presented?
Charles, would you like to present the resolution?
Well, I think we all should, but
Okay.
of course I do
We'll
not.
all go down.
I would ask the fourth ward councilman to, since the church sits in the fourth ward as well.
It gives us great pleasure. It gives me absolutely the most greatest opportunity to welcome you not only to Englewood, but to the fourth ward district. Who I know you have plenty of backing, that people will pray for you and support you. And the city of Englewood gives you this welcome resolution that's backed by the councilman at large, the mayor, and the rest of my constituents. So congratulations and welcome.
One more. Fourth Ward Gazette.
It's not like being on the spot.
All right, we move on to our next resolution. We have a wealth of happy resolutions. This is the way it should be all the time. Resolution 311-10-10-23. Yancy, you want to read that, please?
This is a welcoming resolution for the new pastor of Community Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Okay. Do we
Yep.
have a motion?
Yes, so moved.
Second?
I second.
Thank you. Any comments?
Comments are, this gentleman who leads the Community Seven-Day Adventist Church invited me to a service along with his membership there. And I had the opportunity to worship with them as well. He's another one that I believe will help move us forward as a community. His enthusiasm, they both had a lot of enthusiasm and spirit are welcome here in the city of Englewood in a time where we're struggling to move forward. So he also, along with Pastor Donna, I believe will do the work that will help this community, along with others, move forward. from a worship point of view, but also personal as people. So I welcome Javon White, Pastor White. So,
Welcome, Pastor
welcome.
White.
Let's do this vote so we can go back down there and I can get him.
Okay. Okay, roll call.
Councilman Cobb?
Absolutely.
Councilman Wilson?
For sure.
Councilwoman Wasatski? Yes. Council President Marin?
Absolutely, yes. Okay, the motion is carried.
Motion is carried.
Let's go down.
Nadia, you want this? You can have it. Because you've earned it. We're gonna present that to the family. That's what's helping. You've done that. Congratulations. Don't know each other. Welcome to our new worship leaders here. We want to make sure they get to know each other so they can get each other's back. Every day, all day. This is the new regime. All right? They're fixing to post them everywhere so everybody knows where to go. They need somebody. No excuses. No excuses here. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Looks like I got the Matt White tonight.
Did you take a look at this storm, the management plan?
I just skimmed it.
Well, I'm not gonna be a burden, right?
We'll give them a
I'm gonna
chance
just ask
to
you to
read.
skim this first sentence.
I didn't.
Asher
fully developed way back then.
November 1st is when it's scheduled for.
Do a big analysis and submit it to the court. That's why our only real obligation is 22 units.
We couldn't do it the week after. They gave me the 3 weeks.
Okay,
That was the
No,
first
I know,
week.
it makes no
Second week was
sense.
election.
okay.
She got it.
And those week after that,
Huh?
And it's stamped all over in this management.
depends on the queue.
She got it, 'cause I don't know.
I think it's ridiculous. They keep burdening it.
Oh, that was all.
Right. Right.
Hey, Yancy, we got it, the resolution in there, the one I sent you?
In the separate packet.
Oh,
I'm gonna give it to him tonight.
It's in the public
I
packet.
love
but I
him
didn't
anyway,
give
but
you
you're
guys-
gonna get it
Yeah,
tonight.
everything's in the public
Okay.
packet, but for you guys, I emailed it to everybody, yeah.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Somebody
no,
just asked me.
it's right there. I made copies for you.
I'm okay.
I made you
That's
copies
the
too.
problem. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
Listen, somebody just said to me they didn't see it. I'm okay, I know,
I just
listen,
said-
I read the thing.
all right, we're now going to, we have another presentation this evening. It's from our auditors, that's for the city of Englewood, Mr. Gary Vinci from Lurch, Vinci and Bliss LLP. Our city auditors are going to present their presentation on the 2022 budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Last month, we released the audit for the city, and just want to highlight some of the financial conditions of the city. The city has continued to make significant improvements with your financial condition. Last year, the city actually ended up in a surplus position of $10.7 million, which was an increase of over $2 million. But I think what's very important, in addition to the level of surplus that the city has, and I know there are some members of the council that are new, but over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had conversations about putting money aside in reserves. And I think if we went back 5 years ago, the city was criticized for not having sufficient reserves. And there's been a conscious effort to fund some of those reserves. And I think it's very important because I think at the end of '22, you realize overall, the city was able to maintain a reserve for tax appeals. Like every community in the state of New Jersey, there are significant tax appeals that have been filed. There's no time frame when they would be adjudicated, but you have a reserve of $1.5 million for a potential settlement against the city. You also have a terminal leave reserve. If I went back 5 years, I don't think the city had a dollar in the reserve. And I think at that time with retirements based on labor agreements that the city has as well as most other communities have with their labor, there are payouts upon retirement for accumulated vacation days. The city right now actually has over $2 million in that reserve. And I think what's important is that when you look at the liability that the city has potentially, if every employee left at the same time, you would have to actually pay out over $7 million. But the fact that you're almost 1/3 funded, it's actually a significant funding mechanism that you have in place. Because right now you're able to fund that continually on an annual basis, thus giving you resources to pay for those retirements that the city will have over the next few years. And the third reserve, again, that's relatively new. You have a storm recovery reserve. Over the last few years, the city has been hit hard with flooding situations. Luckily, you have been able to secure FEMA reimbursements. But should you not have the opportunity to be reimbursed, whether it's through FEMA, your insurance carrier, you still have another $600,000. So I think when you look at overall surplus and reserves, you're slightly in excess of $15 million. If I went back 4 years, you had 6.6 million. So the financial improvements have been significant. And I think if you look at an independent rating agency like Standard & Poor's, every year the city goes through the issuance of debt. One of the accolades that the city did receive is the fact that you have been able to grow your reserves. And that's very important with a rating agency. What that means, if your reserves continue to increase, and there's other areas that they factor into your rating review, you have the opportunity for a rating upgrade. You did receive a notification that you went from AA minus stable to AA minus positive, which means possibly that the next rating you could go back to AA. The higher the rating, the lower the interest rate that you would have with your long-term debt. So it's a very important factor when you evaluate financial condition of any municipality. Included in the report this year, we had our audit recommendations. Unfortunately, there were a few that were repeat recommendations. We did meet with City Manager Bob Hoffman as well as the city's CFO, Michael Kaufman, to address the findings and to provide them with information as to what may be needed for remediation, corrective action. Michael will have a corrective action plan for the council to review and approve at the next council meeting. But some of the areas that we did see recommendations dealt with the purchasing practices. I know the city has hired a firm, which I think they were secured last year. So there's a transition as to some of the areas that we see findings versus the guidance that they will provide you, especially with bidding. So some of the items with purchasing have been repeat findings, and I know there have been training programs for the city personnel just to reinforce the policies that are in place and that have been in place the last few years. There have been some financial findings with fixed asset reporting, information that is maintained within the accounting records. But I think when you look at overall, we did not see a finding that we consider to be significant or material. I think a lot of the items can be addressed just with a diligent and detailed corrective action plan, as well as continuing training to the city personnel. So if there are individual questions regarding recommendations, I'd be happy to go through each one, or if there's any question from the city council.
Do we have any questions?
Can you just cover the repeat findings?
Sure. So if the city council has their copy of the audit, it's actually the last page of the report. The first item dealt with the local public contracts law. So the state has issued directives dealing with practices that are to be maintained within a local government entity. The items we saw there are certain documents that need to be on file. There are political contribution disclosure forms that need to be maintained for vendors that have paid over $17,500. As part of our sample, we didn't see the actual form for the vendor, as well as we did not have documentation for certain bids that the city secured, certain state contracts that the city entered into, as well as written quotations. So that finding, that recommendation has been in the audit for the last couple years. The second finding that's a repeat deals with the issuance of purchase orders. So the procedure should be in place that a department head will submit a requisition and request approval for a purchase order to be issued prior to services being rendered or an item being purchased. We actually saw where the purchase order was issued after the goods were already received by the various departments. So you really want to try to strengthen that so that the purchase orders are issued, That way, the encumbrance is placed into the accounting system, and the budgetary records are more up to date with reporting.
Is that not standard SOPs, or is that something that needs to be retrained for our management or our supervisors?
Michael Kaufman has prepared standard operating procedures, and I think it's just having continuing training to reinforce the requirements and what has been included in those procedures. And I believe in conversations with Bob, that is the Canning Group doing that type of training for you?
Yes.
And those things in itself aren't just the negative aspect of our rating, of our AA minus plus?
No, they are not.
Okay.
But, Gary, you know, these are repeat items. So one would question, how effective is our training? Because, you know, a repeat item, you know, you would be sensitive to what happened and what we've done. So what we're saying is we're ignoring the recommendation. We're ignoring whatever our corrective action is if we're not doing it, and you come up annually with the same finding. So one has to wonder what's being communicated in terms of that. If we're not correcting it, we have to question what the oversight is, or is the corrective action the right corrective action? That's what it is to me. Because I mean, you know, 1 year you get it, you fix it, or you say you fix it, and then we get it again. So, okay, next time we have an audit and we come up again, then, you know, we have to have pencils down on that. Because I mean, there's something. What is the root cause of this? And we need to look at the root cause and say, how do we fix this so it doesn't happen again? You know, people can, it's easy to just say training, but training doesn't appear to be working. So we need to look at the root cause and say, what else can we do to ensure that we have the right controls in place? You know, maybe the control is not, is the design is not effective to the control, because you're testing the control.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm saying. So, you know, we got to look at the design of the control. Maybe we have to redesign the control so that we don't have that. So, you know, whatever it is, I think that if the control remains the same and we continue to get the same output, then we have to look at the control, if it's an effective control.
I don't know, to be very frank with you, whether this is recurring. I have a feeling it is. But the recommendation about the overtime sheets for the employees to be kept in the finance department. Now, in this day of computers, I don't understand. I have a feeling you're talking about the actual sheet that was filled out and signed by the employee, not a copy. You're talking.
If there's a copy, it can be, you know, saved onto a computer within the finance department.
Yeah,
But we
that's
just
what I
want to
was-
see it where it's centrally located. Since payroll is basically a standalone department, they should have those types of records
No,
under their control.
I totally, absolutely agree. It just, I was wondering, you know, it could be set up so that every time the department receives the timesheets, they could forward them to a file. which would
absolutely.
be okay. 'Cause
Absolutely.
that seems to be a no-brainer. Okay.
I just have one question.
Mhm.
What do you mean by construction code fees be calculated in accordance with city ordinance?
So when we audit a city department, we'll actually, with certain departments that, especially those that collect substantial dollars, we'll look at how the fee is being calculated for a permit that is being issued. The city has a fee ordinance, so there should be obviously a consistency between what the fee is per the city ordinance to what is actually being charged. And there were some inconsistencies there.
And is this a new problem, or is this a repeat problem?
This was a new item that we picked up with part of the testing this year, And we did talk to the departments that are included in the report, so they're aware of that. And, you know, it's actually, we have seen this in other municipalities, so some of the fees actually may be outdated, and it may be time to revisit the fee ordinance compared to what is actually being charged for an item that a permit will be issued.
I was under the understanding that we just did that we had some fees that were increased,
Some,
right?
yeah, somewhere that was for engineering, that was
Right,
for
yeah,
construction.
so could that possibly be the glitch, that some of the increases, or you're talking about before the fees were changed?
Most likely before the fees were changed. Keep in mind, this is a 22 test. If you then increased and modified the ordinance in 23, then that would actually be part of Michael's corrective action plan.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions?
So to the fee, point of view, it's been my experience that when you have a problem with the fees, it's obviously, you're looking at somebody who's calculating the fees for the permit, then there should be a second person reviewing the final calculation before the permit is issued. So that way you have a control, that control would be independent of that person who's actually doing the calculation.
That's
If we
correct.
don't have that process set up that way, then we need to do so. Because even if the fee changes, at least that person, the approval, will know that that fee has changed from whatever it is to whatever it needs to be.
Agreed.
So that's kind of like what I'm talking about, that kind of stuff, the oversight and stuff.
And I just have one last question. Go ahead, Bob.
No, go ahead.
When you speak of action plan, and I know there may be some inconsistencies and some I don't want to say offenders, but some repeated items on the report. When you say action plan, do you mean for all departments, or are there particular areas that stand out?
No, so referring to the corrective action plan?
That is correct.
Okay, that would actually be a summary that Michael, the CFO, will prepare, and the corrective action plan will take the recommendations detailed in the audit, and in addition to that, will provide the city council with how that recommendation will be addressed, when it will be addressed, the time frame for implementation, and if there are new procedures that are required, an explanation as to how the recommendation will be implemented and corrected.
So we're going back to training.
Well, I think on some of the items, it's a question of training as well as just following through with certain approvals and just reinforcing. So the timing of when the Canning Group came on was probably mid-22?
No, it was in October of 2022, so just if I may, the auditor, the auditors, the CFO, and I, we sat down and reviewed the 2021 audit findings, and we looked at our training procedures, and we did an update, and then we did some in-house training, but the council was also gracious enough to authorize us to hire the Canning Group so that we could have firmer controls and then assist the city with the review of the requisitions into purchasing orders through the admin system. And then they have been helping us conduct training, but they have also been asking the difficult questions and putting the stops on things before requisitions were turned into purchase orders. So, these findings are for 2022. Many of the items that the auditors surfaced happened, their examples are from, I'm going to say, the first half a year to 9 months of 2022, and there were gaps, but they've been analyzed, and we've taken corrective action. So it's been a group effort. It's been with the assistance of the auditors, just to make sure we understood what the audit findings were, and to make sure that we addressed them. So in this audit, you will see they have comments and they have recommendations, and the city has basically, is in agreement with many of the recommendations that the auditors have made. There's some follow-up that we have to do because there seems to be some inconsistency with the UCC code. So you heard, you heard Gary speaking about that, and so we have ordinances, but there's software that we use to calculate the UCC fees, the Universal Construction Code fees, and there seems to be a discrepancy, and we need to figure out that there's a delay for for some of those costs or for some of those charges to get there. And then there was also there are some ADA fees that can be waived in the system, and that has to be we have to find a way to make sure that the system addresses that. But there's some discretionary fees. So
I would just like, since we're drawing a close to this discussion, I would just like to reiterate what you started with. And it sounded to me like you began by telling us the city is in a stronger position, as of 2022 than it had been before. So I feel very good about that. Am I overstating that?
No, financially, the city is in excellent financial condition.
yeah.
Thank you.
And just one other thing that came up is there's been training for each department, but the training was designed and it was good, but we didn't go down, we didn't train supervisors and other people, so it was at the department head level, and now we're down 3 layers, so that's a big help because the administrative assistants are the ones that are putting it in, and we're making sure that everybody understands what they're supposed to do.
And I think one of the other areas that may be something for the council to consider is whether, with some of the recommendations, whether you want us to come in to review after corrective action has been implemented, whether it's actually consistent with what we believe is necessary to eliminate the finding and the recommendations. So, we'd be happy to work with the city manager and the finance team. So that's another option for the council to consider.
Thank you
I'm
very
sorry,
much.
Mr. Hoffman. I missed some of what you said in regards to the training, and it didn't go to the supervisors. It went down the line.
Well, the initial training was for department heads,
And that happened.
So that happened, but then in 2022, in the late summer or the fall of 2022, that training was redesigned, so it was for department heads, but it was also for the next level supervisors, and then the administrative assistants as well.
Okay.
So that there was a greater knowledge of the public contracts law.
So why not have everybody get the training? So you build a strong bench, and everybody who's in the process gets to understand the process and participates in the process. So that'll allow our employees to feel more engaged in the process, other than just, shuffling paper or whatever they're doing. I think it will serve us better, because then we position people to move into other jobs, because they understand critical functions and critical things that are associated with doing business with the city of Englewood. I think it's important that we do that, because to leave it at the top and just the administrative assistants, it's not the administrative assistant's job. It's the job of the people who are on the line who are doing that. I think it would bode well for us to include folks in that process. And that's probably why we continue to have these repeats, because you got people on the line. Are they getting trained? Or is the training being out there for them? But I think we need to engage our employees. Just makes a stronger bench for us. I think it makes a better work environment for us as well. That's what I would say.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, that's part of what we've been doing. The administrative assistants are the ones that are doing the data entry, so that's why they're part of the process. And over the course of the years, we're making sure that everybody understands the public contracts law and has, knows how to put in a requisition and, is confident that they can do that.
Okay. Does anyone else have any question, or can we thank Ms. Da Vinci and move on?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time.
Okay, we're now, since we haven't had communications from the governing body and the city manager for a while, we're going to do that now. We're going to begin with Mayor Wiles, who is on the phone.
Mayor, can you unmute, please?
Thank you. I've unmuted. Can you hear me, Yancy?
Yes.
Mayor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Michael Wiles, Mayor of Englewood. I'm actually in Paris, and it's about 2:15 in the morning. I would like to extend my congratulations again to both pastors, and if the pastor left the chamber, I too look forward to worshiping with him, and a happy Sabbath to him. Unfortunately, the good pastor from the Seventh-day Adventist Church invited me on a day of inclement weather. I'll make it over there when it's clear. I would like to mark the passing of Curtis Cavanis, also a dear friend to so many in Englewood. May we all draw comfort from the wonderful memories that we have. Ladies and gentlemen, the state of Israel was viciously attacked this past Saturday. Over 1,000 innocents were murdered, 2,500 wounded, maimed, and barbarically killed. And 100 were abducted and taken to Gaza on the Jewish Sabbath and Simchat Torah holiday. The Hamas-backed attacks on Israel civilians are no less than an act of war and will be met with the strongest opposition. The timing of this was purposeful. I urge all the citizens of Englewood and surrounding communities to be alert, and I've communicated this to the local law enforcement, and I've spoken with our chief. Englewood, New Jersey Police Department has increased its patrols for houses of worship, and of course we all pray for the safety of our residents who are currently living or visiting there as well. I have heard, no doubt, in recent days from people that extended their holiday trips and they're ensconced in works of service. The city of Englewood and I stand with Israel, its citizens, its military. Our prayers are with all of those who are impacted by this terrible attack, but the response must be swift and will be overwhelming. Ladies and gentlemen, this hit home for me. My daughter and my son-in-law were on one of the first flights out. It took 2 trips during which to the airport that they had to get out of the cab. My daughter and my son-in-law each draping themselves over a baby girl, and then a stranger cab driver draping himself in solidarity and fortitude over both of my children. I couldn't believe this, how impactful this experience has been. The Englewood community has done nothing less than angelic work in the last 72 hours. They have packed up hundreds of duffels of equipment that is going to the state of Israel. From Bergen Hatzalah to Congregation Abbas Torah, we should be proud of the partnership and the collegiality of what has developed. I also would like to thank our president. Mr. President, given the sheer brutality of what happened this past weekend, did not ask for a metered response. He understands that what the world, what the United States, and what the state of Israel has to do, we have no choice. As they said, what happened in the Holocaust was never again to happen. But sadly, it happened. This evening, I understand an initial transport aircraft carrying advanced American ammunition arrived at the Nevatim Air Base located in southern Israel, as confirmed by the military. We have to be grateful for not just Englewood's police, our county, our state, our federal law enforcement officers, but those very, very special partners that we have in what is tantamount to the only democracy in the Middle East. But ladies and gentlemen, this has hit home, and I have to just say that my heart aches, not just for those lost and the innocents that will no longer be with their family, but for the resounding impact this has in our community. And as for all the wonderful pastors and my friends in the Black and Spanish community who merely and surely call, send text messages, and are crying to me in desperation and in hope and love, I want to thank you. This month happens to be Breast Cancer Awareness and Hispanic Awareness and Legacy Month. We are one city of Englewood, and one community hurts. All of us hurt. So when I heard from Jeff Carter from the NAACP the day after the attack, because he wanted me to hear his voice, I want everybody to know that this mayor is not just hurting, but I am reveling in the sheer audacity of not just what happened, but in the response, the wonderful response of all the residents of the city. May God bless those that will come into harm's way, and may God keep the memories of those that perished alive for some measure of comfort for their families. You'll forgive me, ladies and gentlemen, it's about 2:30 in the morning here in Paris. I'm going to try to stay up as long as I can, and I'm due back very soon. If I can be of any service, please reach out to me. My communications are listed. And again, we have a coffee with the mayor every Friday where we'll, of course, dig into all of these conversations on the library Facebook page. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman at Large Cobb.
Good evening. I'd just like to start by thanking everybody who attended the services and the well wishes for the Cavness family on the passing of Curtis Cavness and how we celebrated him today. I think it's important that folks know what he meant to this community and what he gave to this community. He gave himself to this community. And those who know him and those who don't know him should have had the opportunity to know him because of what he did. He was a quiet titan, as I would call it. So he gave a lot to us. So I want to give my condolences to the family, as I am part of that tribe. You know, it was truly humbling to see the turnout of people and the words, how they expressed this gentleman. And so, you know, I think in honor of him, we will do some things coming up shortly. And I think that, you know, we need to work together more. And his example, he set an example that we need to follow, and anybody who ever dealt with him. So I just want to thank everybody for that support. What is happening today in this country and around the world, we have to reconcile and say, you know, we have to get behind Israel. We have to do what we need to do in terms of that. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. We don't want to see people get killed. We don't want to see people get threatened. But this is a tragedy. And we have to understand what our position is, and we have to hold people accountable for that. So, you know, but in any circumstances, we have to kind of work with each other, not kind of, we should work with each other, defend each other, and support each other, but we can't tolerate things that are happening like this to people, taking people's lives. It's an unfortunate events that are happening, and hopefully we can get to some resolution for the people over there and those families that are here not knowing the status of their loved ones. So, you know, I believe that the city of Englewood would stand behind you as we stand behind all our people who live here, and we should continue to try to do that. It's an unfortunate time in this world. That's what I would say today. But again, I think that we just need to stick together and work together to see however we can help in these ways. Those are my remarks. I'm a little tired today, so going through So, again, thank you for coming out. I wish you well, wish your families well, and whatever we can do as a city, I support it. So, thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Charles. Dr. Wasatsky?
Hi, good evening. First, I just want to say I want to extend my deepest sympathies to the family and friends of Curtis Cavanis. I worked with him on the Englewood Board of Health for a number of years, and then again on the Englewood Democratic Municipal Committee. I want to thank everybody who came out today in support for the state of Israel. We have a resolution which will be coming out a little bit later in the meeting. There are packets in the front that everybody could pick up so you could follow along. We're on page 2, but we move pretty quickly. The last few days have been really crushing. I have no other word to say because the Englewood community is part of. We all part of the Israel community. We all have family and friends, and we've all been impacted greatly by what's been going on over there. Last night we had a beautiful ceremony, a beautiful tefillah, a prayer service at Ava Torah with over 700 residents from throughout Englewood. It was truly inspiring. The last couple of days, people have been volunteering, buying everything that people in Israel need, that they need on the front line, and stuffing duffel bags, and it's shipping it over to Israel. So it's just really incredible to see what the community is doing. And I want to thank Bob because this all, as you know, government really works really slow. You probably all figured that out by now. I always say it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and it's really. But this all happened on Shabbat, on Saturday. And Sunday was Sunday, and Monday was a holiday. And I have to say, I'm really proud of the Englewood City Council and the mayor. Everybody came together as a community. Englewood stands with Israel, and I'm really looking forward soon to read. And thank you, Bob, for spending so much of today helping write the resolution. And I'm looking forward to reading it in a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Kevin?
Good evening, all. It's with a heavy heart that I give remarks today to a scholar, a man of a plethora of information that was a seed, a tree, a root of Englewood. And that young man's name is Curtis Cavanis. And Englewood will suffer from this loss. He was a community member. Anytime that he was called upon, and oftentimes when he wasn't, he was giving his time, his spirit, his knowledge. And so my condolences go out to his family, Mr. Cobb, his wife. It's a great loss. And so for those of you that did not get a chance to meet him, you missed a real treasure, a real treat. It's also a sobering moment for me to see anyone suffer, but as Israel is going through something the last couple days that are unheard of, and we have so many people here in Englewood that has friends and family, so it affects us all. And when my constituent called me and asked me about the resolution, I could only say yes, because my heart goes out to those of you that are suffering during this time of need. My prayers are with you guys, and I pray that anyone that has family, you have some type of resolution and they make it home safely. That's important, not knowing the validity of what loved ones are going through. So my heart goes out to you. and I wholeheartedly support with my constituents the support of Israel and this new resolution that my counterparts worked so diligently with the city manager today to produce. So for those of you that do not know, Lisa and Ken are driving things home, so thank you for bringing things to our attention. And it's unfortunate that I found out about the Falah service a little late, that I would have liked to attend, but that's okay. And I will keep my remarks short for there because those are two important items that I wanted to make sure that I addressed. The rest will follow through as we go throughout the night, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. First, of course, I extend my deepest sympathy to the family of Curtis Cavan as a very important person in the city of Englewood, whose name has been around for a very long time because of all that he contributed. The massacre that took place in Israel is just beyond belief. Before I came to the meeting, I was watching the films that are coming out of Israel, where they literally, the cameraman went from house to house, documenting the massacre where whole families were gunned down. They just went house to house and killed everyone. And this is what hatred, pure hatred, produces. It's hard to deal with. I would like to just add a few things that are not as dour. I attended the Age-Friendly Conference a few weeks ago. It was beautifully done. Janet Sharma had a great deal to do with it and was stressing the fact that the demographics are changing all over the country. You know, the population is aging, and many people would like to age in place. And all of us, all communities have to start thinking about what they can do to make that easier for the aging population in their towns. And I hope this council will do that. I want to remind everybody that pressure should be kept on the planning board and on the council to do everything we can to put in place what is necessary to hire a planner and start working on the master plan. That is vital for this community. Do not forget about it. It is urgent. I want to also thank Bob Hoffman. He has been just amazing when it came to dealing with the finances in Englewood. And one of the reasons that our audit came out the way it did, and that we're in such good shape financially, is because we have someone at the helm who is really good at what he does. So thank you, Bob. I also would like to remind everybody that we had almost no flooding after all these horrendous rains, and that is also due to our DPW, Franz Folsey, who is here tonight, and Bob. And I think it's amazing how much has been accomplished. It was really quite an accomplishment. The last thing I'm going to mention is there is an election coming in November. I would like to remind all of you that you must vote. It is your right, it is your privilege, and I'm just going to say this because during the last primary, only 600 people in the 3rd Ward voted. The election was won by 11 votes. I don't think that is a responsible thing. I would like to see everybody, whoever you're for, doesn't matter, as long as you express yourself. The last thing, I have been getting calls about write-in votes. There is a column on the ballot for personal choice. Please look into that if that's something that appeals to you. And I wish all of you a healthy, safe future. Thank you. Bob?
I'd like to, I want to amend the agenda. And I'd like to have the resolution for Curtis Cavness, and I'd like to have the resolution for Israel done right now.
Okay, it's fine if you can do it. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Is there unanimous consent to do that?
Well, could I just, before we do that, first of all, we have to, Mr. Hoffman didn't make his comments yet, but we have to agree to add the resolution for Israel, to put it on the agenda, because it's not on the agenda because it was just done. There was no time, so we have to do that. And then we should do the one, I think, for Mr. Cavness. And Councilman Rosenzweig should be here in about 15 minutes. And as soon as he comes in, we'll do the one for the State of Israel. Does that sound good?
That sounds fine to me. Is
Okay.
it? Do we have, so we could let Mr. Hoffman speak?
Yeah.
Then we could do the bills and claims, and
Yeah.
then we could bring up adding those two items to the agenda. Is that okay? Captain?
Sounds good.
Charles? Okay,
Hey, what
okay.
you say? We can do that. Go ahead.
All right,
I,
Bob has to do his report, too.
yes.
all
Bob.
right, thank you, Council President, and I thank you for the opportunity to have pressure before we change the agenda. So, good evening, everyone, and I have several comments for tonight. Over the past year, the city has been working hard at removing debris and obstructions from the waterways and culverts, as you've recently heard. And this all started after Mayor Wilds was able to schedule a meeting with both the state DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers on site here in Englewood. And too bad it wasn't fully recorded, because it was a masterful tutorial from our city engineer. He spoke for literally 2.5 hours out on site at over Peck Creek at different locations, just explaining topography, explaining the different issues that the city had. And before the end of that meeting, we were able to have agreement from both the DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers. So we had agreement from a state agency and a federal agency, and we were able to start our work to begin the slow process of making sure we were responding to drainage issues and looking at how we could make sure we were doing the best for our friends and neighbors. And because of that ongoing work over the past year, we have been able to reduce flooding and in many instances prevent flooding. So there have been 10 significant rainstorms in the past several months. And then we only had flooding on one day. That was Monday afternoon, September 11th. And that's when we had 1.365 inches of rain in just like 48 minutes. So when the rain falls that hard, there's not a whole lot that we can do. But we have been continuously working. We've identified issues. We have cleaned out the Overpeck Creek for about 3 blocks. We've taken out several hundred dump truck loads of material. We have seen that there were culverts, which are the big concrete pipes that empty into the Overpeck Creek, that were silted in. We were able to clear them out. We were able to identify areas that had been, drainage areas that had been clogged up. Councilman Cobb was gracious enough to meet me on the CSX railroad tracks, and please don't tell CSX we were there, but we looked at a completely silted in 30-inch culvert, and our DPW was able to go in and clean out approximately a 260-foot clog in that drain line, so that the water coming off of South Dean Street by Balthazar Bakery, there's 2 catch basins in the road. The water was able to flow through onto the CSX tracks. There's a swale on the east side to go in there, but that culvert has been blocked for over 10 years, maybe longer. So with the council's help, we need to contact CSX and have them bring down equipment to clean out the swales on both sides of the street. But last weekend, this past weekend and the weekend before, we had significant rain and we didn't have flooding. And as I said before, that's because of the work that's been going on for the past year. So I'd like to read the names into the record of some of our employees that have been working on this on a daily or a weekly basis. And I want to thank the following people. I want to thank Caesar Narano and Samson Anamanu, who have been our long reach operators. So that big boom that goes in, they've been operating that. We've had trees removed from the streams by Randy Thorne and William Fillmore. And then we've had Sampson again and Scott Ferguson and Tony Williams. They've done storm drain cleaning. They've been flushing lines. We've had Ernie Ramos and Josh Griffin, Sean Jackson, Jason Rowe, and Fulton Lucas. They've done catch basin cleaning. We've had Melvin Nicholson and Stanley Conyers operating our bucket loaders. That's taking the material and putting it into dump trucks to get it off site. And I also want to thank our supervisors. I want to thank Ray Romney, Wilmer Dubon. Wilmer's been great, just figuring out how to clean out long snags. Yushan Fields and Greg Witowski. But I also want to make sure that we also thank Ed Roy Jenkins, because our Director of Public Works has been at this from day one, and he has just been a rock. He's been out there looking at things. He's been diagnosing problems. He's been contacting Franz and myself, and we have been able to come up with solutions in the field. So all of these people deserve our thanks. I also want to be able to thank the county. They've lent us equipment so that we could continue the work. Fort Lee, Edgewater, Leonia, and Englewood Cliffs have lent us equipment. And last but not least, I want to thank the council, because they invested in the DPW. They invested in the equipment that was needed. And so this was done before I arrived. So the council saw fit to order bobcats and long arms and other equipment that we need. And even though, and Gary's sitting here, and one of the audit findings has to do with ordering some of the equipment that we used in the stream, but it's been a team effort. And I would ask you to all join me in a round of applause for the people that I just mentioned. Thank you. A couple of other things. The county, the Bergen County Utilities Authority has hired Alimo Engineering to take a look at our sanitary storm system. So on Thursday and Friday of this week, you will see people popping manhole covers and dropping cameras into the manholes, just to take a look around to see how things are flowing and to see if there's any problems with the interceptors and with the culverts and things like that, or the items that take away number 1 and number 2. So we've been concentrating on the stormwater, but we also need to make sure we're looking at the other part of the equation. So that'll be happening this week. We've had ongoing vandalism at our parking garage, and there's a couple of resolutions on the agenda tonight. We've had people that have ripped out our fire alarm system, and we've had to repair that, and that's a significant expense. We've also had our cameras damaged, and they're back online. And recently we had people that damaged the doors and the glass, the plate glass doors that are coming off of the second and the third floor. Our cameras are working. We have seen some nasty things happening in the stairwells. The police have issued summonses recently, but please, if you, I don't know what to say, except this this is very frustrating that we have vandalism, and we'll be figuring out how to solve that in the near future. So I've talked about with this, the need to contact CSX and have them work with us so that we can solve some of the remaining drainage issues and clean the swales on both sides of the railroad tracks from the Teaneck border north to the Tenafly border, and that will be a very big help. Then, in the next couple of weeks, we hope to have all of the equipment to set up a new microphone system and audiovisual system in this room. So it's tentatively scheduled for the week of November 1st. So if we do receive, we need, I believe, 2 more pieces of equipment that's scheduled to arrive. Once that happens, we will work with the court, and this room will be closed down so we could put in the new system, and then everybody will be able to hear with more clarity, and we will be able to do better visual presentations. But we may wind up going to Zoom for a meeting or 2 just to make sure that that we don't interfere with the work, because the goal is, now that the equipment's here, let's get it in so we can use it in the future. Our ice rink is open, so come on out and enjoy the rink. I see some fellow Giant fans here. It's going to be some long Sundays, so we might as well go ice skating. I wanted to offer my condolences to the extended family for Mr. Cavanis. Didn't have the opportunity to meet him, but he was a true member of Englewood, and I just want to offer my condolences to the extended family. And then we have heard about what's happened in Israel, and I will just say that my prayers go out to everybody in Israel, and my heart is heavy for what has happened there, because that should not happen. As an adult, as a father, you want to protect people. You don't want to see that happen, and that was just wrong. I want to thank the council for making comments about our work on finance and with drainage, but it's a team effort. So we've made improvements on the finance side, and we've made improvements because it's the efforts of working with our auditor, with our CFO, with our finance staff, and with everybody that touches the budget. So thank you for that. But they all deserve some of the accolades for that. And again, the stormwater. I only have calluses on one hand. I don't have calluses on both. But that's a team effort. But it gives me a great sense of joy to know that we are making a difference. And that's just something that's very important. So thank you very much. And I see that Councilman Rosenzweig is here, so I can stop now. Thank you.
Ken, would you like to make some comments?
Apologize for being late. I'm on call this week, and sometimes I have to stay late. So thank you for your graciousness and courtesy. My condolences also go out to the family of Curtis Cavanis. He's someone I served with for many years on the municipal committee, and he's someone I always learned from over the years. So my heart goes out to his family. Obviously, we'll be talking later, and obviously I don't know what's been going on, but we'll be having a resolution later for the horror that's going on in Israel, and to show our support for that. So thank you all for coming out for that tonight. And I'll just keep my remarks brief because I know the hour's late already. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Can I make a motion now that we add the resolution of support for Israel to the agenda, and that we now pull out and address the resolution of support for Israel and the resolution for Curtis Cavanis?
Well, do we have to do 2 separate motions?
That motion can be together, but then each resolution stands on its own.
Yes.
Okay.
So I make that motion.
So you just need a second and all in
Second.
I
favor.
need a second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
You all in favor? Aye, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So now,
Now you can act on the individual
On the
resolutions.
resolutions.
okay. Okay, we have resolution number 329-10 20-23, which is a resolution honoring Curtis Cavanis. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Anyone want to speak?
You wanna speak? Because I'm gonna speak.
I'll keep it brief. Oftentimes, when greatness is thrust upon us, either we miss it, we accept it, or we appreciate it. And so I think this resolution says a lot about the appreciation of a man that gave his livelihood to the community of Englewood and also serving in our neighboring town, which is Teaneck. So for those of you that, have not had the opportunity, resolutions are put in place so things can be memorialized. And for those that come to our town can recognize what the council and the mayor deems to be important to put in a resolution. And both of these resolutions tonight, as any other resolution, is very important, and I think it's a great effort to move forward on someone that was dedicated to Englewood. Thank you.
Charles?
Yep. This particular resolution, I don't even think it does him justice because of all the things that he's done. You know, it's just a snapshot in time for somebody who lived 70 years in Englewood and gave back. And as the minister said today, the E might have, instead of being Edward in the middle of his name, meant Englewood.
Yes.
Because he was truly of the fabric of this community. You know, he wore the maroon and white proudly. And he was just Englewood. And he was a guy who had a wealth of knowledge, who was involved. And if you wanted to know something about Englewood or you wanted to debate something about Englewood, any of those things, he was a person that was there for you to do that. It was all about Englewood. I mean, and if you saw him, Lucy is here in the crowd right now, Amy is here in the crowd, and they'll tell you, he'll be working in the garden right next to you. He was a regular guy who cared, truly cared about this town, and he's gonna be truly missed. Because he understood the mechanics, he understood how this thing worked, but he also influenced and educated people. The mayor from Teaneck even said that today. He took the mayor from Teaneck before he became mayor, when he was a younger man, and put him in the right direction on some things that he was dealing with. So he had impact. And he was a people's person. He had the right job. He worked for the health department, whereas it allowed him the opportunity to interact with people, and that's what he did. And he influenced people. And oftentimes, we don't even realize the impact an individual has until they've left us. And then you look back on the work that they've done, but his work speaks loudly for him. And we have to start to, you know, celebrate people while they're here on this side a lot differently and a lot better than after they leave us. And then we really realize the gap that they stood in as individuals. So, you know, it's an honor for me to be speaking about this individual, and anybody who's up here on this council knows him, who's interacted with him, you know. And one of the things they said, you would notice when he would come to the mic, he'd have paper in one hand, and he would be directing traffic with the other, and he would ask you the question, and he already knew the answer.
Yes.
And that's what he was. He did his homework, but he cared. And I think that we, as I said earlier, if we all take a page out of his book about caring about this community and our community, we would just be a better community. I mean, we have the ingredients to be a great community. I challenge each and every one of us here to just do a little something, because if we do a little something, it's a lot more than what we've done before. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. But again, if you read the resolution, it's just a snapshot for us who really know him and know how he was involved. You know, we'd have to chronicle a book of 70 pages for this gentleman. And as I said, there'll be some other things that memorialize him in the future. But also to the second resolution regarding Israel, you know, we're standing with you. We understand that nobody should have to go through what you're going through today. I mean, nobody has to go through that. Should not. But that just lets you know the world that we're in. But whatever support the city of Englewood can give you, we're here for you. And as you see, you know, I think that Lisa will read the resolution, and I want to give her the floor so that she has an opportunity to hit the salient points for you to see what's going on here. But I thank you for coming out to listening to this and to understand that this is what this council is all about. We all support you, so, and we support the things that the community does. All right, so thank you so much.
You might want to vote on the resolution for Mr. Cavanagh first.
Okay.
Just to separate them, and
We'll
then
separate them.
you
Did we
can,
make a
Okay.
did we make a
separate motion.
Yeah, we did.
We did
Yeah,
one
and-
motion, and then we'll take
And then
up on
A
the
second
second.
motion on,
Okay. Can we have a roll call on this, please?
Councilman Kopp,
Absolutely.
Councilman Rosenzweig,
Yes.
Councilman Wilson,
Certainly.
Councilwoman Wasatski,
Yes.
Council President Marin.
Absolutely. All right, Lisa, would you like to take the lead? I don't have the correct resolution number.
Let's first make a motion.
Well, I would like you to read the
Oh,
resolution
okay,
number.
sure. Resolution of support for Israel. Whereas on October 7th, 2023, the terrorist organization Hamas launched a coordinated series of attacks against the state of Israel and its citizens. And whereas this barbaric attack occurred on a holy day and close to the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, and whereas terrorists launched over 5,000 rockets from the Gaza Strip into the state of Israel, and whereas heavily armed terrorists attacked defenseless citizens celebrating Shabbat and the Jewish holiday of Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah, and whereas the United States and the state of Israel have been allies and partners since 1948 in their shared values of peace and justice, and whereas United States President Biden, along with the leaders of France, Germany, Italy, and the United Kingdom, issued a joint statement stating, "We make clear that the terrorist actions of Hamas have no justification, no legitimacy, and must be universally condemned. There is never any justification for terrorism. In recent days, the world has watched in horror as Hamas terrorists massacred families in their homes, slaughtered over 200 young people enjoying a music festival, and kidnapped elderly women, children, and entire families who are now being held as hostages. And whereas the state of Israel has responded to the attacks with a declaration of war against Hamas, and whereas the residents of Englewood, the state of New Jersey, and the United States have expressed their condemnation at this unprovoked attack, which has resulted in hundreds of deaths of Israeli civilians, American citizens, and citizens throughout the world. And whereas many residents of the city of Englewood have visited Israel, have family and friends in Israel, support philanthropic causes in Israel, and yearn for universal peace. And whereas, as a city, we mourn for all the victims of these terrorist attacks by Hamas and the escalation of the conflict caused by this terrorist group. And whereas people of the city of Englewood believe that the residents of the state of Israel deserve peace and security. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council and the City of Englewood stands with the people of Israel in this hour of need and condemn terrorist attacks against Israel and its citizens.
Thank you, Lisa. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Yancy, roll call?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyone want to speak about this?
I saw many of you last night at the Ava Torah. Thank you all for coming out again tonight. And a special thank you to Mr. Hoffman, Ms. Wazermos for working on this, but especially for Councilwoman Wasatsky. This is, there's certain procedures you have to follow to get this done, and I told her, I'm on call today, I can't help you, and so she took the, she did 99.999% of the work, and that might be understating it, so really, thank you. These, I think we're all feeling the same thing, bursting into tears randomly when the realization happens, not sleeping at night, checking the phone, way too much, turning on the news. So, this is very small because we're a small town, 7,000 miles away. But it's a sign that we're all standing together. So, thank you all for putting this together and for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Ken.
And I just want to note that all flags in New Jersey, including this city of Englewood, are flying at half staff.
Okay, the mayor would like to speak.
Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, ladies and gentlemen. Again, it's after 3 in the morning here in Paris. I also want to thank Dr. Wasatsky for pushing this forward, and also thank the fabric of every part of our community. Fred Fish, who owns the leasehold to the promenade of ShopRite, placed an Israeli flag and put them all at half-mast. The owner of ShopRite donated a very substantial amount of funds of product to people in need and product to go off to the state of Israel. The Jewish community led by Rabbi Popko, Rabbi Goldberg, Rabbi Reichman, and a lot of other wonderful groups represented by Bergen Hatzalah and others have, in a partnership with Englewood and in the state of Israel, collected and garnered so much content, shockingly being able to fill up tonnage of material that's going to be airlifted and sent to the state of Israel. We again thank our president, and we thank everybody, all the different parts of our government. This is as important as every effort, and we have to make sure both resolutions, speaking to a legend who lost and a city that is literally mourning for its brothers and sisters, we have to remind ourselves how fortunate we are. And I want to thank everybody who came out, and again for the sheer good citizenship and the extraordinary sacrifice that's going to be made in the coming days. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, roll call.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatsky?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. Thank you, Yancy. Thank you all.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to bills and claims. Resolution 312-10-10-23. We're going to approve the payment of bills and claims. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Does anyone want to speak about this?
Yeah, I want to know on page 1, the next to last item at the bottom. Police vehicles 108, 155 repairs. $7,094.68.
We want to know the specifics of what happened to the car?
Yeah, what's
There
the
were
story?
2 cars.
There's 2 cars.
It's insurance repair, so it was due to a storm. I could get you the information of exactly which storm.
No accidents, insurance.
Yeah, insurance.
So,
We got reimbursed for it.
no. What happened here? What happened to it?
I'll get the details, but we get reimbursed for it, so it's not going to cost the city anything.
108, 155.
Okay. On page 3, page 2. It says $69,860. 77. It's down 3/4 of the
Yeah.
way down the page.
There's a resolution on tonight's meeting for that. Bob, Mr. Hoffman could probably talk better about it. It's for the 3 emergency hybrid vehicles.
Yes, there's, the city was able to find vehicles. We'd gone out to bid. We were unable to receive bids for vehicles, but we were able to find 3 Toyota hybrids, Camry hybrids, and one of them was going to be allocated to the police for traffic duty or private duty. Another one was going to be allocated to the parking authority, and then the third was going to be allocated to the construction office. So I believe it's resolution 322 in the agenda. So this was something that it came up, and after we were unable to find vehicles, and we have the opportunity to acquire these and put them on the road and take off some older vehicles.
I think, when are we getting the engineer and the new recreation van?
Well, there's a resolution on the agenda for this that would authorize us to go out and negotiate for the new recreation van. And then we are looking for other vehicles that we would be able to put into service for the engineering department and for some others. But this is,
We had a resolution 2 years ago, and we still haven't gotten a van for the recreation department. I know that, so why are we having another resolution for that?
because we went out to bid for the specialty van and nobody bid on it. So now we've done this twice, and now because we didn't receive any bids, if the council adopts the resolution for the recreation van, we can go out and we can negotiate with dealerships for that particular piece, in that particular type of vehicle, as well as others that we need.
Also, 2 years ago, we couldn't even if we could purchase it directly from a vendor, we couldn't find, there was nothing available. Merle was looking and there was nothing out there.
What, a vendor of record, or you just?
Any
talking about
vendor, just looking to see if there was nothing available.
That was the COVID times.
Yeah, it was during COVID and supply chain issues. We also went out looking for electric. We test drove some electric vans. We went out to look for those. We were unable to secure any of those vans. So we're now going to the next step. So the public contracts law requires you to go out to bid at least twice, and if you're unable to find something when you go out to bid on those 2 occasions, if the governing body passes a resolution, then you can go out and find the vehicles through dealerships, and that's our goal.
I would like to see us really focus on, we've gotten a lot of police vehicles, we've gotten DPW vehicles. I'd like to see the engineering department, I'd like to see our POs. The car that they ride around in it's an embarrassment. I'd like to see them be able to get something that, if everybody else is sharing in the riches, they should be sharing it as well. I think it's just important, and if we're gonna get it for the building department, then we should get it for our engineering department too. They're out there on the road, we have expectations of people riding around, and I don't think it's fair that people beat up their own cars to do city work. Just doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Well, if one of the cars that's in the police line is for the PEOs. It's for our parking enforcement. So one of these new Camrys would replace the old Crown Victorias.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're focusing on these things.
Any other question, Charles?
No, I'm done.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there anyone else?
Cynthia will be very
Kevin?
happy if we do this.
I know.
Yeah, I have a few questions, but while we're on the topic in regards to the cars for I won't call it extra duty, what would we call it, construction duty? Is that one of the reasons you said?
Yeah,
From,
extra duty, yes.
so,
Construction, yes.
is that coming out of a different budget? Because I understand when our police officers do construction overtime, if you will, that entity, whether it be the Viola or PSE&G or whatever road work is being done, is that fee is paid to the city. And we also charge a car fee. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we're taking, or is that in the general budget, or is this a different stipend for this 69?
That's the 69,000 is in a different budget. It's in a capital budget. What we're going to be able to do is, we have to buy the cars, but we will eventually be able to do a reimbursement so that we will be able to pay for that. But there's the mechanics that we have to figure out for that. I'm not explaining it properly, Michael, but it's just we're buying the cars now, but then next year,
We've been putting the revenues that we receive from the extra duty for the car fees into miscellaneous revenues, non-anticipated. So it went straight into like our surplus number after every year.
We might want to revisit that.
So next year, what we planned on doing was adding some of that money, moving it from Myrna into a new line, a new revenue line,
Why some and as opposed to all?
or most of it. You can't. I don't want to I don't want to overstate it. So I rather. And plus, I like money going into surplus. I mean, it's a discussion for the council also.
I do as well. And,
Yeah.
And part of the reason why we instituted a charge for the cars is because there's wear and tear on those cars, and so that should have been put on into a different budget line. So in fact, when we look at these line items, and I'm going to get to that in a moment, in regards to repair on these vehicles, it's astronomical. And these extra duties may or may not be beating up our cars, but that's something we definitely need to revisit, and I would like to see the council look into that fee, the car fee. Surplus is surplus, but when we're spending this type of money on a continuous basis for police vehicles or any other vehicles, and there's other parts of the city that our fleet is neglected. So either we're sharing that with all our fleets, or we're dedicating that money that the police revenue is coming in to the purchase of these cars.
Yeah, so what we planned on doing for
Okay.
next year was, when we discussed the budget, was adding revenue to anticipated revenue and adding money to the, let's say, the police line budget for vehicle repair, so, or vehicle purchases, so that balances each other out.
Okay. It's just that we haven't just started with the police, where they pay for the cars. I got a quick question, well, a couple questions, actually. The elevator inspection is on page 2, $4,730. How many elevators do we have in the city that cost us that much to inspect? And do we not have our own inspectors to help us along with that budget?
No, we don't do the elevator inspections, right? We contract out with
And
somebody.
we get revenues for it, so.
Excuse me?
We collect money from the people that we do the testing for. Like, we do the elevator test, and we collect money from them, so it balances each other out also. There's a revenue line for code enforcement.
I was getting to that, and I'm glad you said that. So, once again, you're saying that it balances out, and I understand that, but it reads as if, once again, we're collecting fees, but it doesn't appear that it's going here. And maybe that should be side by side, so it's an easier read, that we're collecting fees, because what it's showing here is just that the fees are going out. Am I reading this correctly?
Yeah, but we don't show, like the bill list, we don't show revenues coming in ever. That's just, yeah.
Okay, so I gotta ask.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, because we
Yeah.
collect those fees,
Yeah.
but it doesn't
Yeah.
appear on this report. So
Same thing like insurance.
I understand.
yeah.
I understand. Okay, so on line 3, at the bottom, fire department, $2,227.92. Is this for repeaters? On page number 3, the bottom. Communication equipment antennas.
I would have to check that and get back to you on that.
Okay, you know what repeaters are, right?
On the antennas, I mean,
Okay. Please get back to me. Previously, I've asked questions and I haven't gotten back to. Page 4. New Jersey Building Services Cleaning City Buildings, $8,050. And then we,
pay that every month.
yeah, but we have a duplicate of a service on a different page as well. And so I'm trying to figure out, even though we pay it every month, why do we have another fee at a different amount? On page 7, at the top for the library, New Jersey Building Service, Cleaning Service, $6,257. So,
the library is not included in our services. They have their own contract with them.
okay. Can you see why I asked the question? Because it reads it's the same, or no?
If you look to the left, it says library.
No, I understand that. But I'm saying so this is coming out of the library budget?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. I genuinely don't know the answer to this. I noticed on the last page, the attorney for the planning board submitted bills for separate projects. Now, I thought we paid him a retainer that covered the work he did. Does he charge I don't know what his retainer is, but.
When he does general work, we pay him out of the planning board. When he does for individual properties, then we charge that. It's an escrow from the property that we charge the homeowner.
I'm a little
Maybe-
confused.
Typically, for planning and zoning board attorneys, there's a flat fee or monthly fee for them to attend the meetings. And then for a particular application, an escrow's posted for the attorney to actually prepare a resolution of approval or denial. That's what, so there's 2 components really.
And that comes out of the person who submitted the application.
Correct,
That's part
but-
of the escrow.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
But does that pass through our bills and claims?
Yes.
Okay.
I just hadn't noticed it before, thanks.
The backup to the escrow, do you attach the backup to the escrow?
We have the backup to everything,
the
yeah.
backup.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have a question for Michael?
No.
Okay. Roll call?
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. All right, we're now moving on to ordinances. This is a second reading. Nancy, you want to read ordinance 23-27?
This is an ordinance establishing contract salaries and benefits for the United Brotherhood of Public Workers, the DPW employees.
Okay, this is the public hearing on this ordinance. So this is now open. Anyone who desires to speak or to ask questions concerning this ordinance will be heard at this time. Once again, you need your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes. This is on ordinance 23-27, the DPW salaries and benefits. Anyone in the audience want to speak on this?
Sorry,
No,
this
it's
is
okay.
not about your ordinance, I apologize. But my name is Colin Moskowitz, I live on Cambridge Avenue. And I have a dream, which is, and I want to clear the trail next to the railroad.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry,
could you repeat what you said? I didn't understand.
I said it too fast, I think, right?
This is.
This is only for the ordinance.
This is for the
So we have a
ordinance.
public comment in a little
Okay.
bit on any item that you want to
Yeah, this
address.
is
Just on this one
This
ordinance.
is the second reading on this one. That's why we have to have comments separate for this before we vote. Have we got anyone who wants to speak on this? Did I get a motion for this?
So you close the public comment.
Okay, I'm closing the public hearing on this ordinance.
I move that ordinance 2327 be adopted.
Okay, do we have a
Second.
second? Okay. Roll call? Go ahead.
Any discussion by
Is
others?
this, Mr. Bailey, is this document, is this the same one that we talked about, with Mark Rubin?
Yes,
I believe it's the same one.
yes.
Bob is
Yeah,
saying yes.
I believe so, yeah, I didn't,
Yeah.
wasn't involved in preparing it.
No, but he addressed us,
Correct.
that would be in litigation if we don't pass it.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll deal with him.
okay, roll call?
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. Okay, that motion passes. We're now going to ordinances, this is a first reading. This is ordinance 23-28. Yancy, please read that.
This is an ordinance amending Chapter 25, Section 25-20, Schedule 12 of the Traffic and Parking Ordinance of the Code of the City of Englewood. This is for the West Palisade Avenue from the monument to the Teaneck border.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Can we have do we do explanation?
We'll have a discussion. I just need the motion and a second first.
So moved.
Second? I second. All right, comments? I didn't understand this. I guess I'll start. Does this mean that there's no parking in front of the private homes on Palisade Avenue?
It's restricted.
Mr. Hoffman, I'll tell you what I believe it means.
Go
but
ahead.
I think it has to do with parking when the streets are being swept.
Correct.
So but I also know that there probably is an ordinance already on the book that, but I think it's the timing of with the signage that's currently there to talk about, you're sweeping the north side one day, you're sweeping the south side the other day, from the monument up. So, I don't know all of the details in terms of
Charles,
what we're
I
trying to
think
do.
They gave us that sheet that showed the hours, and I think it said 9 AM to 1 PM, which is the whole
Well,
day.
why don't
well,
you just
the-
explain the ordinance?
That's why I didn't understand what it meant.
Right, but historically, right, these things, and I think this is part of the problem that we have, is that there are a lot of inconsistencies in terms of when we sweep the streets, and what I mean by it, it's the time frame. If you go 9 to 1, some places it's 7 to 5, and we don't even work to 5. Then there's other places 8 to whatever, so I think one of the things that we have to decide is how consistent are we going to be or not? Understandably, the streets have to be swept, once a week. So I think that this is the beginning of trying to put something in that's enforceable to that. And one side of the street is in the 3rd ward, and one side is in the 4th.
Right.
So, what works for those people, but ultimately, Palisade Avenue has to be swept, and that's from the monument up to that.
Gotcha.
And I think that what that is doing right now, and in fact, they're just posting, emergency, we're gonna sweep on these days.
Right.
So rather than doing that all the time, this is what we're gonna do. But I think that the one thing we have to be careful is we have to understand the timing of this. That's why I think that there's gotta be some more discussion with this.
Does anyone
In
else?
terms of the people from DPW, so I think when we do that, and people from traffic, everybody has to be on the same page with that.
Mr. Hoffman, who wrote the ordinance?
Now, it's my understanding that this was done in conjunction after a meeting with with traffic and with the DPW.
Could you use the mic? Could you use the mic? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, yeah, thank you for the reminder. It's my understanding that this ordinance, this amendment was written after a meeting with traffic, police traffic and our DPW, but I will
Yeah, but
confirm.
I think that's okay, but what happens is that we have to vote on it, so we have to understand, because we'll be fielding those grenades from folks, so we can all say we understand what it is, because nobody from traffic or nobody from DPW standing here, the folks that'll do the work, the enforcement and the cleaning of the streets, and then we're just voting on it, saying, okay. But I think that when we do vote on things like that, we need to have those folks there, so we all are hearing the same thing. So, you know, it's fair to get that feedback in there, because, you know, we all want to be on the same page of the decisions, and how did they come up with those times?
Can I suggest that we table the ordinances that have to do with that until we can either get them to come here and explain to us how they arrived at that?
Or we can, or have a memo prepared so that.
Something
you know.
so that we can,
I'd rather have them come here and we talk about it.
Okay.
Because,
That's
you know,
that's
memos,
fine.
they seem to go and come, but let's have them there and let's see why they came up with these particular times, based on what? So
and
we
I
all
think
know.
it's good for the public
And
to hear that
it's
too.
good for the public to hear this dynamic and let them explain to us. I think that should happen on all streets and all apartments, so that
Yeah,
everybody hears what we're trying to do and attempting to do.
I totally agree. Yes, do we have to, if we want to table this?
Need a motion to table.
I want to make a comment before we table, just so it's on the record.
Go ahead.
Councilman at large spoke in regards to grenades, and I had the opportunity to speak to the city manager in regards to some of the grenades I've been getting in regards to the recent ticketing of the people that work different hours on Palisade Avenue. And part of the situation is that either we were doing lack of enforcement, and part of it was that our sweeper was down, but now that we're up and running, I was under the impression when we took out a line item for the budget last time in regards to signs being made, I didn't know we were talking about temporary paper cardboard signs. I thought we were talking about something more substantial, because these signs, even though they're dated, people think it's dated for that one day, and they go back to their regular routine. So there's more people watching what we're doing right now and looking for explanations and relief from 3 tickets at in a total of $90. So I think it just behooves us to take a real good look at this. And I understand, and we need the public to understand, is part of this drainage problem and the flooding problem has to do with debris going into our storm drains. So it's imperative that we have street sweepers do their job on a regular basis. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So, do I have a motion to table?
Motion to table.
I
So
second.
move.
Okay. Roll call? This is to table this until we can get further information.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. Okay, let's move on to ordinance 2329. Nancy, you want to read that?
This is an ordinance of the City of Englewood, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to amend Chapter 260, Property Maintenance, to establish Section 260-7, vacant and abandoned properties of the general ordinances of the City of Englewood.
Okay, a motion? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, time discussion?
Yes, good. Bob, Bill, somebody explain
Yep.
this.
All right,
Want me to-
we can do a tag team if you want. This is an ordinance that will help, this is specifically geared towards abandoned properties, and the definition is properties that have been vacant for 6 months or more. And this sets up a procedure. It's actually amending, I believe it's chapter 31, Bill, of the code.
317, I think. it is.
317, okay.
It's 317.
Yeah. And this started to come about with issues on how do we enforce some of our property maintenance, and how do we maintain properties that are abandoned. And, you know, part of this was focused on the issue on West Palisades Avenue, where the council had to attach a lien to the property. That was one of the ripple effects from that. But Bill, what else is in there? I don't want to steal all.
Yeah, just historically, the city actually has an ordinance on the books. I think they did it about 8 years ago or so, when these regulations came out, where municipalities could require abandoned properties, or vacant properties, to register with municipalities, so that there's a point person if there's a code property maintenance violation to call. And it extended it also to banks and lending institutions or creditors that were filing a foreclosure action. There may have been some litigation over that, because there needed to be more clarity in what the state was mandating. So, I don't know, maybe a year ago or earlier this year, the state came out with kind of a new model ordinance, which this is, that has more detail in it in terms of, like, for example, who has to be served and notified, filed with the city clerk, as well as fees and things that could be imposed by the municipalities to cover the administrative costs for administering this program. So there's kind of two levels of it. One is the resident or owner of the property. If it's vacant or abandoned, they have to notify the city that it is in such a state. So, like I said, if there is a property maintenance violation, our property maintenance people know who to contact. The second level then is creditors, banks, companies or entities that are foreclosing on the property, because often the property is vacant at that point. There's no one there. The owner may have walked away or filed bankruptcy. They have to register as well, so that the city has another point person to contact. And also, when you have a foreclosure, often the court appoints what's called a receiver. You may have heard that expression, who then is charged by the court to oversee that property at the cost of the entity foreclosing on it. So this cleans that up and modifies the ordinance that we have on the books with more detail. Yancy, while I'm thinking of it, and Council President Marin pointed this out to me earlier, and I could send it to you tomorrow, but there's just a typo on page 7, Part B. It says that for summons and complaint for foreclosure is filed after notice by the municipal clerk and the mayor. Under our form of government, that should be municipal clerk and the city manager.
Just take out the word mayor and put in city.
Because most towns, we have a very unique form of government. It's typically the mayor, but not here.
Mr. Bailey?
Yep.
I just want to clarify 3 things. One is, when I read so this ordinance, it is relevant to both properties that are in foreclosure, but also properties that are not in foreclosure, but are abandoned.
Correct.
So, okay, and the third question is, this is a standard ordinance? You mentioned that it's a standard state ordinance?
Pretty much.
Okay.
It's tweaked to fit each municipality has to change it a little bit to.
Yeah, and we have plenty of properties in Englewood that may not be in foreclosure, but are by definition abandoned because nobody's been taking care of them for more than 6 months. And that's just a statement, not a question.
Right, okay.
But I think it's a problem.
If I may, I'm all for the amendment of 317. Like you guys stated earlier, that this was on the books before, and my concern is enforcement. I've had some conversations or the opportunity to speak to the city manager in regards to properties that have been abandoned and/or are eyesore or in disrepair. My concern is, even though we have more teeth in this particular procedure for 317 being revised, is how do we follow up with our boots on the ground of who's going out to actually cite these problems?
It's our construction office, it's our code enforcement. We have 2.5 people in there. We have 2 code enforcement officials, and we have a zoning official that are primary to go out and survey and enforce.
So this is going to be part of our new program of retraining, hopefully, because those same people were in charge before, prior to we added more teeth to this. So my concern is what's going to change with them administering these summons and/or tickets.
It's a valid question. What this is right now, this gives opportunities. We receive calls on a regular basis.
So do I.
And yeah, just from banks and things like that want to be able to register. So this now allows banks to register properties, and it's easier for our code enforcement to track down who is the responsible party.
I would understand the financial part of that, but part of my responsibility, and I think our responsibility, will be the welfare of our citizens, because these abandoned properties are not only a blight, they're a danger to our young youth, and they're actually inviting youth to do things that may be less than legal. And so I would just like to see us police these areas that have been ignored on a continuous basis. And congratulations to us getting one of the properties knocked down. But that property was a blight to our area and a safety issue for a long time.
Yes.
And I just don't want that to be our legacy, that we amend this, we have new teeth, and nothing's being done. Thank you.
Is there a list of all of abandoned properties in the city of Englewood?
No.
So is there any way we could,
Well, according to this, there should be.
Exactly.
We should have an inventory. And my question comes back to with property maintenance, do we have enough resources? Because I'm gonna tell you, I drive around here and it ain't hard. It ain't hard. And I think that, you know, we need to assess, do we have enough resources for that? Because I can tell you, if we were out knowing what we should do, I think that you would see some more action in this. I can tell you right now, there's houses where I can just spout out where people are parking on the front yard, no license plates on the cars, they don't. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. These are things that if we don't have the resources, those are the conversations we need to be having to get the resources, because we can clean some of this stuff up.
I think we need to have that, because I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
But I wonder, should we pass this ordinance, which sets one part of it in place, you know, and then make sure we put on the next agenda, you know, something.
I think, yeah, I agree with you, we could pass this, but I'm saying, we gotta stop looking at the symptoms and looking at the root cause.
Yeah.
And fixing the root cause. Because we keep putting Band-Aids on this thing, and it just, all it does is drive us down the road to crazier and more crazier, instead of just doing the hard work right out the gate. And I'll tell you, property maintenance, they need some help. That's what I was saying.
Well, I'm in agreement, and real quick, I think we already have that in place, we're just not utilizing it. DPW are out on these streets every day, and maybe we can tweak something that they can see something, say something.
Listen.
Just jot it down.
Well, that's the case, the police out on the streets
Right.
every day too.
That was my next thing, but okay.
You know, get more than, if you see something, but that has to be a tone from the top, coming down, saying, if you see something out here, write it up.
Well, that's coming in our,
Or
that's coming in our new training.
Right. Yeah. You heard what I said about training, right?
Yeah, but it's not even with abandoned properties, it's also when pedestrian signs go down.
All right,
Like,
yeah.
everybody has to take ownership in this. If you're driving around and your job is to go from block to block and whatever, if you see something, there should be a center where we say we report this at the end of the day in your report. I saw no stop sign, I saw whatever it is.
I think
And
we're
then
all in
we get there
agreement,
and-
Charles.
yeah.
We're all in agreement.
Well, I
Why
hope
don't we
they're-
put this on the next agenda? Let's codify this so that it's something that has to be done, not that we would like to have
Yeah.
done.
Part of the evaluation of looking at this is, we have 2.5 people that are doing property maintenance, but they're also doing the certificate of rental occupancy inspections, and that's something that, it happens every day. There's a higher volume in the summer, but that's something that we have to look at, because, that is taking away from the enforcement and the compliance, so.
Okay,
All right, good. Can I ask a few questions?
sure.
Well, are we tabling this or gonna?
No, we're gonna
Okay.
vote on it.
So, and I apologize if I didn't understand it. So this deals with properties, is this only exclusively for properties in foreclosure?
No, if it's vacant or abandoned.
Yeah. So the
As well.
foreclosure, there's someone who wants to move it along,
There's a process.
Yeah. But let's say a property is abandoned because it's in probate. How, and no one's taking responsibility, no one's gonna pay the $250 fee, like, what's the mechanism through this ordinance?
There's then, well, the estate would be responsible, but also if you don't register and the violation continues,
It's a fine.
then it goes, the initial registration is $250. What has to be renewed each year, that it remains abandoned or vacant. If this maintenance violations or problems on the property, now it's $500. If it continues
it's just
the
gonna
next
be a
year,
lien
then it's
eventually.
$750, yeah.
So if it takes 17 years to get through probate, we might get $100,000 out of it or something. Not that we want that, but.
Or
Right.
maybe they'll wake up and pay the 200, 500.
Well, and then is this only for lots with structures on it? Or for,
No, if there's a vacant piece of property that is in foreclosure, there could be vermin.
yeah, no, that's
that
what I was
They would
thinking
have to
about.
register, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Bill,
Yep.
can we just fix the title on the ordinance to say Chapter 317 and also to establish Article 2?
Yep, will do.
Thank you.
okay, can we have a roll call at this point?
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski? Yes. Council President Marin?
Yes. Okay, now we will have public comment on agenda items. Members of the public are requested to state their name and address. 3 minutes, and these are any items that are on the agenda.
I'm going to make comments under 2 hats tonight. First, Amy Bullock, Bergen County NAACP Community Liaison. This evening, I had the opportunity to go to the JCC, where they're having a rally in support of Israel. Our president, Jeff Carter, was there also speaking tonight. The NAACP stands with the Jewish community in condemning these acts of terrorism. While I was there, I learned that we have 2 Bergen County residents who are missing. And as a mother, my heart goes out to their families, and our prayers are with everyone, and we pray for a quick resolution and for everyone to be brought home safely. Amy Bullock, 312 Howland Avenue, Englewood resident. Condolences to the family of Curtis Cavanis. It was a beautiful service for him today. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to have been there. I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to know Curtis. I learned a lot from Curtis, one of which, as was stated earlier, never ask a question that you don't already know the answer to. Employee anniversary recognitions. I'm just curious as to why they're not here tonight. I think it would have been nice for them to be here. To see you guys vote on that resolution and give the community an opportunity to congratulate them and thank them for their service. They're here. Do any of them even know that this is happening? So maybe perhaps something can be scheduled in the lobby at City Hall where they can be invited and the community can be invited to come in and thank them for their service to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
How many employees is it?
It was a long
Long
list.
list.
There's a
Yeah.
Why don't we make sure that they're,
For people from 1 year all the way up to 30 years. It's a recognition for people for 1 year all the way up to 30 years.
But
well,
I
you do
think,
it every 5 years, right?
yeah, every 5 years. It's not
Right.
all the employees.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna wind up doing something like a luncheon or something like that, you know, to recognize them.
So it would be nice to invite them here so that the community can express their appreciation.
Right, but also maybe we can put a list of them in there, their pictures in the next edition of My Englewood, right?
Great idea.
I would actually put it on the bulletin board in City Halls where it rotates so their pictures are there, but I don't wanna blow the bulletin board up. Or maybe you can put it on the marquee. Out there. Put their names on the marquee. We recognize the following employees.
That's a great idea. All right, how about, can I close does anyone else want to speak before we close the public comment section? Is that it?
This is just the,
This is just on the resolution.
just the resolutions, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Be another minute, yeah.
Oh, you
Okay.
you wanna speak to us?
Okay, so close it. Now we're moving on to the consent agenda. I think we withdrew, we did it separately. 329-101023, Curtis Cavanaugh's,
We already did that.
I think we already did that.
Right, we already voted.
Okay, so this would be 313-10-10-23 through 328-10-10-23. Can we have a motion and then we'll have comments?
If anyone wants anything pulled.
So moved.
We'll do it after, okay, I second. Does anyone want to say something or have something pulled?
Maybe not poll, but maybe an explanation for 315-10-10-23. Resolution of City of Englewood authorizing extension of electric services.
Oh, the bid to East West Electrical?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, you want to have that pulled?
No,
Just an
a
explanation. I
quick
think.
explanation.
Okay, Bob?
Yep, I'm just looking for, which one was that? That was 315? Okay. This is the city had gone out to bid for electrical services on this back in 2021, and the part of the bid says there's an option to renew for an additional 2-year period, and that's what the city is exercising its right to do.
And-
So,
And is that with the existing contract that we have right here, right now?
yes, that is.
Do they service this building?
Yes, they do.
My concern, as I've explained in prior meetings, is that, and I'm not attacking anyone's character, just the workmanship that our city is receiving, and that there's part of the building that's not up and running when the generator blew. So, from my understanding, and I would hope that I got the information incorrectly, that they can't figure out what the solution may be to fix the other half of the police department. And it's been over, 2 weeks that we've been out of this particular building?
I think it was the generator,
Well,
which is
But that's,
qualified,
right, but that's
which is
related to
gas-fired,
electric.
not no, that's what I was told.
Okay,
It's
maybe I'm
gas-fired.
misinformed.
So the,
It's a diesel generator.
yeah, Yeah, the owner of East West Electric has helped us determine what part of the problem was, so, and what the solution is. So we have two generators. One's a diesel generator, and then one's a natural gas generator. The diesel generator was aligned as the primary generator instead of the natural gas generator. So,
So it had nothing to do with our particular electric circuits, if you will.
well, part of the electric circuit issue is there's a renovation that is occurring in the health department, and they are they are using coaxial conduit and other things that are coming from the police station, and I guess the long and the short of it is that there are cables that haven't been, as you would do in your house, they haven't been labeled properly, and that was causing part of the problem. So East West has been working with the other electrical contractor to to determine which ones are live, which ones should be should be used, and which ones need to be taken offline. Now that is my terminology, but when this building was initially built, the circuit breakers were all in the police department for the whole building, and then it's been cut up over time. Now, Franz, have I gotten part of this right, all of this right, or?
Yes, that's correct. And part of what's happening is, sorry. Evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Part of what's happening also in terms of the health department is, unfortunately, a lot of the service from the health department are tied to the panel of the police department. And now that we're renovating part of the health department, the current codes don't allow them to tie back into the panel of the police department. So we're putting an additional panel in the health department to try and remediate some of this issue. So once that's completed, it'll be less of a load into the existing panel now. But that's a process that we're going through right now.
So my question is, East-West that we're looking at this particular bid, we've had them already for how long?
We've had them for a few years, I believe. I can't remember
For
exactly how
two.
long, but they've been around for a while.
My recollection is they have. And so my concern is that as we move forward with this technology, this is a safety complex, and this is of the utmost importance, especially with the health and PD tied in. And in this climate, I would just hate to see us be down in the safety complex. And I just think it's a paramount that we're up and running.
I agree totally.
Yeah, so if we're out of pocket for something, and we're dealing with, and I'm not saying that they're incapable, it just seems to be taking a healthy amount of time for us as a safety complex to be up and running.
Yeah, my understanding is part with the diesel generator at the police department is once it goes off, it has a tendency to keep running longer than it has to. But that's I believe that may not be an electrical thing. It may be that the generator itself needs to be serviced by a contractor to go out there and service the generator. But again, we're looking into it. We're speaking with different vendors. I'm going to be.
I think, and I understand perfectly what Kevin is saying.
Oh yes, yep.
I mean, we want to hire the best people possible.
Right.
I
If
agree.
these people were incapable of helping us earlier, are they people we could trust, know what they're doing?
East West has helped us in a lot of different ways.
That's what we wanna
So I can't say they're incapable because they've done some tremendous jobs
Okay.
around town. So.
I just want to reiterate, this is
Yep,
not, this is not a light pole in McKay Park.
Yep, I totally agree.
Okay, I'm good.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have before us the resolutions, other than the Curtis Cavanis resolution. Can we vote? Or anyone else have anything else they want to add?
I just wanted to pull 3/18/10/10/23 resolution adopting the municipal storm water, and I'm good.
You want to pull that?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair.
I'd like to discuss I just want to discuss 323.
Deed Street parking
Yeah,
garage?
because I went in that garage several times. I went in one day, we had, they had vandalism, they had, tagged the walls up on the top deck. Then I came back the next day, we painted them, and they tagged them the following day.
Wow.
Yep.
So, it's gotta be the same group of folks that are doing it. I also saw in the elevator, looked like, it was just despicable. My question is, we have cameras in. Why aren't we patrolling? It was very easy for me to drive from the bottom to the top. And I would ask that, since it's about 200 feet from the police department, that when we start the shift, when you ride out, just ride in there, ride out. When we end the shift, have somebody go through there and go in there, because it seems like every day, and the amount of trash that is there, it's just, I've heard a lot of women that said they were not comfortable going to that garage.
Yes.
But I don't blame them when you see the way it looks and the conditions of it. So, that's gotta be, just like a number of these places, these housing developments and everything, they have to be on the radar. We have to go through there. And then, the interesting question for us is, we need to understand how we patrol and what we patrol, when, where, and how.
I just wanted to add a comment. I had a conversation today with Mr. Hoffman about the garage, and I think that we really need to aside from this, just look at the garage as its own entity at another point. And I know Mr. Hoffman said to me we would do that more as part of the budget process. But the question is, how many spots are there? How many have regular people? How many are always used? How many are open to the public? Why don't we have a 24-hour security guard there? What would that cost? There are cameras, who's monitoring them, and all that. There's a lot to talk about in the garage.
Yeah. I can relate to the council that the cameras are back, they're up and running, they have been vandalized, they are running. There was some despicable things that were caught on camera from Monday, and the police were called, and they issued summonses to the individual that was doing these despicable things. I will, offline I will talk to the council about it, but it's, yes, we need to take a deeper dive into that. The police are driving through the parking garage, but it's just, we need to do something different, because we're having vandalism on each of the levels, and we're having different types of vandalism. So I'm not, we've had doors that have been vandalized. We've had an elevator that's been offline because it was set on fire, and there's just, we need to find out what's the effective solution for deterrence. And it's frustrating when the DPW go in and power wash and clean, and then less than 24 hours later, it's disgusting again.
So, I believe Kevin asked that we pull this from the,
I asked just to talk about it.
Yeah, council.
He had another number.
Yeah. So 323 is Councilman Cobb just asked, so that we could have this discussion about the garage, but it's just, you can't have a garage that doesn't have a fire system that's working, and so that's we've had to pay for this, and this is just authorizing the
payment.
Yeah, the payment.
Kevin,
The work.
I'm sorry, did you ask that we pull something?
Stormwater management plan.
Oh, stormwater management,
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you.
okay. All right, so, do we have to vote on, oh,
So,
Well,
did you want?
just pull it, then you can explain. He can explain.
Franz,
to
you
talk
wanna
about
tell
it.
us about?
They're sort of tied together. Essentially, what you have in front of you is an opportunity for the city to update their existing stormwater management plan and stormwater pollution prevention plan. As you guys are well aware, the intensity of the rainstorms we've been getting these past couple of years have created a number of flooding, problems throughout the city. And again, it's not just Englewood, it's statewide, it's nationwide, actually. And because of that, a lot of county, state, and federal entities and organizations are changing their guidelines, their requirements, changing the definitions of their terminology, just to try and keep up with the intensity of these storms. This is just sort of like taking on these revisions and updating our plans. And it's required.
Thank you. And maybe I
Yes.
can help for the litany of time to cut through the chase, what I'm concerned about. On page 4, we're talking in regards to new development, and how it shouldn't, how it shouldn't affect a new water and flood system because of the new technology, right? But in this study, it doesn't say how antiquated our system is and how we are not handling stormwater surges from our old developments, because as the city manager said earlier, you guys diligently did the thing that was corrupting Forest Avenue for more than 10 years because of that 8 or 12-inch drain that was blocked up. So when I see something like this, and it doesn't address the consistency of our old development, and it skips over it and talks about our new development on how the flooding is, it's a concern of mine. And if we could just direct yourself to page 10, and I know we're gonna get into this later, and that's okay. But it says, Englewood is fully developed community, virtually no vacant land. Development in Englewood is largely confined to the redevelopment of existing developed sites. Therefore, it is anticipated that there will be no increase in impervious area in Englewood for at least the next decade or two.
Yes, considering how densely populated we are and how densely developed we are compared to other towns, we have very little leverage in terms of how much more impervious surface we can put down.
I'm sorry,
without
could
creating-
you speak into the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So this could be recorded?
We have very little areas where we can develop at this point. Just about all of Englewood is practically developed. So there's very little area we can add significant impervious surface in Englewood without needing some tremendous work with our, our drainage or, retainage systems. And again, we have a lot of work to do.
Thank you, Mr. Engineer. I'm done, Madam Chair. I just wanted to bring out those points that I thought that was very important, so thank you.
But just to address something you brought up regarding our old development, part of the requirements of the new guidelines is to calculate the runoffs that are coming off even the older developments and trying to figure out how we're going to mitigate that runoff as well.
We
So
just
it's
talked about the impervious
Yes,
areas.
so it all ties into it.
I mean,
But-
we could take up some concrete and put dirt and grass, but that's not what's going to happen in the future.
The one thing the council has to keep in mind is these are live documents. They are bound to change, and we have no idea what the climate is going to be like 5 years from now or 10 years from now. In addition, there are guidelines that are coming out that are encouraging municipalities to purchase land and turn them back into green space.
Yes.
So there's
Yeah,
a lot of things that are going to happen.
What I was going to say to you is, let's say we were to vote on these tonight. If next week we wanted to change them, we could do that, couldn't we?
Part of the requirements that are in there is every year we have to update them and send them to DEP so that they
So
know
we-
what
we
we're
don't
doing.
really have
So
to
this is,
worry.
yes, this is constantly gonna get changed.
Yeah, but this is the first time we're actually gonna do a GPS and we're tagging our system.
Yes, there's a lot of things that
You know what I
we're
mean?
gonna
And we don't
implement.
even know the
Absolutely.
validity of a GPS and how long that's gonna work, because we go back to the street sweepers and the trash and all that has a,
Part of the requirements that are included in these reports now are very stringent, a lot more than they used to be in the past. And part of it is because no one really has a clue what's gonna happen. So, part of what's gonna require, not only tagging our storm system, but the reporting is a lot more stringent than it's ever been in terms of cleaning, when we're gonna clean, how we're gonna clean, what we're doing. All that has to be reported to the DEP from now on. And they are putting some pretty stringent violation fines into it if municipalities are not following it. So it's gonna be a shift in terms of how the storm system and our drainage system or just our infrastructure is maintained moving forward.
okay, because this just states, and this is the last thing, in the interest of time, is that kudos to the DPW stepping up, going above and beyond. Kudos to you guys for tagging these particular areas that are a hazard to our community and flooding issues. But this puts us as the city and the council and the mayor, and especially DPW, accountable and probably finable if in fact we fall behind.
Yes,
Okay, I just wanted to bring that forward.
yes.
Okay.
And that's all municipalities have to adapt.
I'm
these
not
new-
concerned
these new
about all
guidelines.
municipalities at this
I know.
particular juncture.
I-
Okay, so Kevin, do you still want to table this, or can we go ahead with this?
We can go right ahead. I just wanted to bring that to the attention of
This is
the,
exciting.
of the
Okay.
chair and the,
Gotcha. And I'll make one comment. And to Mr. Wilson and Mr. Volsi's point, that this is why a list of the abandoned properties may be very interesting to the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, more
Yeah.
green, we could get more green. Okay.
good luck with that. Thank you, sir.
And also, we also have an option to always make it more stringent. We don't have to, this is
Right.
just a baseline that we have to
Right.
abide by. All right.
Okay, can we have a roll call?
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Council President Marin?
Yes. Terrific, so it passes. Now, resolution for discussion. The first one here is authorizing the submission of 2023 Bergen County Community Development Block Grant for Vantage Health Systems, VHS Shepherd Avenue Residence, HVAC Unit / PTAC Unit Replacement. So we have to give them permission to submit the grant?
Sorry.
We'll do a tag team. You can go first.
So, yes, as we do every year, these nonprofits come to the council and they request that the council endorse their application. They are submitting an application to Bergen County CDBG for whatever project they're working on. In this case, it is Vantage Health, and it's for an HVAC unit at a Shepherd Avenue residence.
And this
Okay.
also comes out of a separate funding source, so this is just for not-for-profits. There's a separate one for not-for-profits, and then there's the other one for municipalities.
Is there anyone on the council that has a problem with this? I'm trying to shortcut the discussion. Is there anyone who'd like to speak about this or has a problem with them submitting this grant since it comes from a separate pot of money? Hearing none. Is that enough of the discussion?
Yes.
Yeah, we will be getting more applications. The nonprofits are starting to reach out, asking when our
Okay.
council meetings are.
Do, are we
We
required?
just rubber stamping those
Rubber
nonprofits.
stamping.
We don't control anything with that.
No,
They
and as
just-
long
we
as the
just-
money is from a separate
Yeah,
pot.
we're just saying, yes, you are a nonprofit in the city of Englewood, and that's it. That's
Okay, we're not limited to any one, we don't have to do just one, we could rubber stamp them all?
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe rubber stamp is the wrong word, but it is, we just
I
give them
know
our
what you mean.
approval saying
Okay.
that, yes, they are in the city of Englewood. We don't control the purse strings or anything like
Correct.
that. So that, all we're just doing is saying, yes, they exist, and they're in the city of Englewood.
Terrific, so no one here has a problem with this. Okay, the ordinance is for discussion, amending chapter 307, article 1 on disorderly conduct. Floor is open.
How did this come about?
A lot of what drove this was the problems in the parking garage. With vandalism and other inappropriate activities taking place. So, in conjunction with the city manager's office, we took a stab at amending our current ordinance on disorderly conduct to be a little more explicit in it in terms of what it prohibits and to really specifically address the parking garage.
If you look on page 2 of this draft, you'll see that it talks about the South Dean Street parking garage.
No, I read it. I understand, and the reason why I asked how it comes about is because we have other areas in the town besides the parking garage that seems to be of concern lately. And so my concern is that what we have on the books is not stringent enough, or that we're having repeat offenders, and we need to have more teeth in this particular situation. But, you know, this concerns me from time to time when we increase things and we start targeting certain other areas other than what's put on the paper. That's a concern of mine. Because we have citizens that work and pay taxes and do certain things, and they've had problems already. And so I just wanted to make sure that, I understand that once we talk about the parking garage and we look into this and we pass this, that goes for our whole community, what's targeted for conduct.
Well, the issue is, conduct is the problem, but enforcement is the key.
I'm in agreement. I just wanted to bring some things to light this evening, so we're transparent. And I think the public needs to know that these fines and particularly the conduct will not be accepted. But I also don't want our authorities to go out and find this a license to look for extra conduct, misconduct.
Has any thought been given to make copies of this and get public comment on it?
Well, the only problem is when you have draft ordinances circulating, people get confused. Because that's why there's an introduction and a public hearing, and if there's a change in between, you have to reintroduce.
Okay.
Well, the problem about that with confusion is sometimes the people that read the law, that went through our academies to understand the law and to deal with the public, misconstrue conduct. And in this environment where conduct is being misunderstood by nationalities, that I think we need to take a real hard look on this, since we've already had a tragedy here in Englewood, that this is a heavy piece of paper. This thing could transform into another tragedy because we're talking about someone's conduct. And we're talking about maybe another ethnicity not understanding someone else's conduct. So this is a heavy piece of paper, especially for my ward.
Well, I think what that says to me is that we need a presentation before the public explaining this, and we have to get comments from the public.
Well, we gotta define what
That's
disorderly
what I'm
conduct
saying.
means,
That's it.
and make that very clear.
So would it be possible to put it on a future agenda
think
and
so.
have a more extended discussion in front of the
Yeah, prior to introducing it, you can do that.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Anyone else want to say something about that? Or can we move on to the other items for discussion? The master plan RFP.
Thank you, Council
Bob?
President. In the council's packet is a draft RFP, request for proposal for the master plan. This is for the council's review and discussion. We had a previous meeting where the council had asked that an RFP, a draft be prepared so that it could be given to the planning board, and the goal was to have it go out and then receive proposals and then interview planners that would be qualified to conduct the master plan, all before December 31st of this year. So this is a draft for the council's review. I've put in a submission deadline date of Thursday, November 30th, so that the council would be able to, or the planning board would be able to interview the respondents and then make a selection and then have that in place
Great.
before the end of the year so that they can get ready to go on the master plan on January 1st. So if anybody has any questions or suggestions, by all means, please email me or contact me with this. I will be meeting with representatives of the planning board to review this document and hand it off to them. But the council had asked that they have the ability, or they be given a draft document to take a look at. So, so this is it.
Good. Okay, the next item is enforcement of sidewalk and property maintenance. Lisa, would you like to talk about that?
Sure. I would like to recommend, and I'm asking for my fellow council members' support, that we have a resident-friendly sidewalk repair program in place. So, because, Englewood, we want it to be walkable. Many people walk. We've had a number of people have fallen in the last year or two that I know of and have really injured themselves. So it's really important that our sidewalks be maintained, but we need to help people to maintain their sidewalk. We have to make it easy for them to do it. In the past, a couple of things. In the past, property maintenance used to evaluate sidewalks on a regular basis. I'm not getting the sense that it's being reviewed on a regular basis anymore. And the second thing is that we used to have a sidewalk repair program, so that now the way it works is people who receive a violation, I'm told that in the last couple of months, the violation letter was changed, or is that true, Mr. Hoffman, that the version that people are getting are different than they were getting a couple of months ago? That they made it easier to understand? Because people were getting violation notices, they didn't understand it, they would get really, really upset, and there was no reason for it. So we need a letter that people understand, and then there's a process now. They get a notice, they don't know what to do with it, then they have to get a permit, then they have to bond. Then they have to get an inspection. I mean, am I right, Franz? This is what people are telling me when they're calling me up because they're getting violations. But in the past, we had a sidewalk repair program. So how much easier would it be that people got a letter that they understood what the next steps were, and then they could say to the city, oh, the city has contractors, maybe one or two or something.
Just want to clarify on a couple things.
Go
Yes,
ahead.
when you have to repair your sidewalk, you have to get a right-of-way permit, and permit fees, bond, and inspections, et cetera. Our curb and sidewalk projects are specifically focused on damages that are city, that are due to the city, whether it be our plows damaging the curbs or a city tree uplifting the sidewalk. Those are the issues that we're focused on in our curb and sidewalk project. Now, what we can do is actually have a curb and sidewalk project in place and somehow get a listing the owners that have violation and give them some sort of an option to get into the curb and sidewalk project, because we will be getting it at a better, better cost than they will. And voluntarily, if they want to, we can make it some sort of an alternate or something on the project. I'm not sure if that's something we can possibly do, but that's the only thing I can
I
think
think
of.
we need to work,
but,
we have to make it easier for our residents to understand what they have to do, and then to help them to do what they need to do.
Yeah, and again, even that's a legal thing. I'm not even sure if that's something that possibly we can do or not.
You could be taking on
Yeah,
liability that we don't currently have.
Yeah, you're
that's
seeing me go
fine.
like this, the devil's in the details, we have to map this out.
I know, and I was told by other people that we did have a sidewalk repair program in the past for residents, and that it worked beautifully for many, many years. So we should
let's
look,
get more information on.
so let's do that, and
Yeah,
also.
I can absolutely do that.
But
We'll dig
so there
that
are
up.
two
Yeah.
sides of the coin. The other side is property maintenance needs to routinely inspect the sidewalks, right, on a schedule. And then the other side is we have to make it easier for people to fix their sidewalks.
This is a, the councilwoman is bringing up some valid points. I will be sending out to the governing body some data that just goes back to from 2021 through present. But our inspections, the code enforcement inspectors, they look. There's 20 different things that they look at. And your question was, I know the letter. There was a letter, and it's been revised. I'm not sure if it's been gone, if it's been distributed. So I will double check on that, and we'll forward this out. But it's sidewalks, it's other things that our code enforcement folks look at. So we can concentrate on the sidewalks, but there's other things that they're also doing, and it'll be good for the governing body to take a look at these 20 items. And the first thing that they're doing is when you look at the data, you'll see that in 2022, there was the process was changed, and there was more time has been given so for compliance because of supply chain issues and things like that. So there's less violations that were issued in 2022 than in 2021, but we seem to have received more compliance from residents. And our code enforcement people have been making the effort to go out and meet with each property owner. It's taken a long time for them to do that, but when they go out and they're looking at the sidewalks or refuse or something like that, they are meeting with the residents, and their goal is to get compliance, and they're giving them extensions, so there's no summonses that are being issued in 30 days. But this will be good data for the council to have, and then we can discuss this at a later date.
Terrific. It's freezing here.
It is cold.
Yeah. Okay.
Did
Yeah.
you want to say something?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Yes. So, my concern is that I think just the way the system works right now is that there's usually a complaint, property maintenance goes down, and then it hands out 20 summonses. House 1, 3, 5, 7, just down the block. And so I think
just as a clarification, they handed out a correction, not a summons.
Summons, excuse me.
a
But
notice, yes.
the issue is everyone I speak to, they want their sidewalk to be, they want to be a good neighbor, and I think it's something they don't notice. It changes over time, and then with the correction, it's starting an adversarial relationship instead of a partnership. And I think that's what we're looking to do, where someone says, hey, your sidewalk's getting bad, it's time to get it fixed, versus, now you're on the clock, you have, 45 days, now it's 90 days, and everyone's trying to get the same contractors. It's not, it's not even just going to Amazon and order a new sidewalk, and with Prime, it comes within 2 days. It's a whole thing, and it's just it becomes an adversarial, not a partnership. And I think that's what we're looking for. People want to do the right thing. I think we should make it easy for them to do the right thing and work with them either, through us doing it and then paying it back, or giving them, some lead time and guidance on how to do it correctly. And I think that would be a great way to do it, instead of, boom, get this fixed, we're watching you now.
Right. And I just don't want this to, like, we discuss this now and then we don't discuss this again. I want to make sure that we discuss this and that we have follow through and that there's a timeline of a solution for this. So, two things. Property maintenance has to go out and start doing regular inspections again, and two, we have to make it easy for people to fix their sidewalks. So it's October, so maybe we can pick this back up in, maybe in 2 or 3 meetings.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. I believe we've come to the end of our meeting, and it's time for the public session. You can come up and speak about anything. We need the name and the address. 3 minutes.
Amy Bullock, Howland Avenue. Couple of things, if after public session I could get some answers, that would be great. Sidewalks. Before we start looking at resident sidewalks, maybe we should look at some of the city sidewalks, because I would venture to argue that if you've ever walked Glenbrook Parkway near that park, you would agree that it is absolutely disgusting, the condition of that sidewalk, probably due to the flooding that's happened over time. But the city should follow Councilwoman Wasatski's advice and maybe assess their own sidewalks. Secondly, I'm going to disagree. I don't think it's the city's responsibility to try to make getting sidewalks easier for residents. You own the property, the sidewalk is your responsibility. And as a taxpayer and as a homeowner, I don't expect other people in the community to be responsible for the maintenance of my property. Do I think we need to be empathetic to people and say, okay, your sidewalk needs to be fixed, and you give them 30 days, you give them another warning, it's 60 days? Yes, that's fine. To Councilwoman Wasatski's point also, there was a program where the city offered residents the opportunity to have their sidewalks repaired through a company that the city was dealing with at a reduced rate. I don't know how much reduced it was, because when I inquired, they wanted to charge me $2,000. But the program was in place, so she is right. If we want to do something like that, then that's fine. I have a question about this dog fence that was on the bills list. Where's this dog park going? Who's cleaning the dog park? And who's going to make sure that the people taking their dogs to the dog park are cleaning up behind their dogs on the way to the dog park? Because they're not cleaning up behind them in McKay Park, where they're not even supposed to be walking them. The audit presentation that we had tonight, would it be possible to post that online? We want transparency. We as taxpayers should be able to see that. We're talking about disorderly conduct. We also need to understand when there's disorderly conduct by police officers. I don't know if you've all seen the video, but there is a video of an officer who secured an alleged perpetrator, put him in the car, and the officer then returned back into the crowd where his fellow officers were managing and told the people that I did it because I could do it. So if we're gonna address people's conduct, again, we need to look in the mirror. And my last question is, what's going on with Liberty School? Thank you.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Colin Moskowitz, Cambridge Avenue, and it's my dream to have the trail next to alongside D Street cleared, because I'm in contact with Sierra Club and Rails Trails, and these are 2 national organizations that share this dream. I invite you to walk about to show how easy this project is to do. if you can, meet me at the former railway station to survey the weeds. At your convenience. We know that the tracks can only be cleared by CSX because they have the right of way, but both sides of the railroad can be cleared by DPW in Englewood as they do at Tenafly. Please choose a time that works for you when it is still light out after work hours. In closing, I invite you to meet me at Demorest Avenue, the tracks behind CD Housing. Please choose a time and date, and please do this before cold weather. And if you can, raise your hands if you are interested in this. If everyone I'm speaking to can send a blast email to D Sumner, DSUMNER @njtransit.com. You can demand that NJ Transit leases the CSX tracks for light rail. Thank you.
So we have two questions to be answered.
Anyone else?
So
Okay.
unless there's someone else.
Did you?
Colin, you
Yes.
can sit down.
Oh,
It's
okay.
okay. You got it. Bob, you want to, I guess, Amy's main question was about Liberty School
Right, there was a question about the dog park and.
and
it-
the dog
One
park.
question, dog fence, the audit online,
Right.
Liberty School, and I was gonna mirror at ourselves regarding the city
So where
sidewalk
was it?
and the police complex.
Okay, we were repairing a fence at, now we're
Denning
drawing.
Park. Denning Park.
Thank you, at Denning Park, so that was on the bills list, that was the fence that was broken at Denning Park.
Dog fence,
Yeah, there's a,
that's a dog park?
there's a.
I didn't know either.
It was a dog walk, they've been there many years.
Yeah,
And, Lazaro's, they back their trucks and they back it down 2 or 3 times.
okay,
Dog park.
yeah,
Now y'all got something for me, though?
all right. And then, then there's, yes, with the audit, now that that we can place that online now that it's been discussed with the council. All right, and then once the I'm gonna call it the management letter is submitted to the council, we'll place that online as well. Okay. Okay, the disorderly conduct, that's kind of a general statement. I don't know how to address that. There's, I have seen a video, about a couple of issues. Are we talking about the issue at, the Elks Lodge? Okay, all right.
And, sorry, I know this is not protocol, but I wanna say that in that incident, in the video that I saw, with the exception of one officer, the other officers were calm, they were respectful, but this one officer felt the need that when he was asked, why are you doing this, and yes, it was a tense situation, he felt the need to respond by saying, because I can. And therein lies the problem.
Okay.
And that's why I'm asking, are we also looking in the mirror to address the conduct of the officers? Because we can't do that.
Okay. The, as I said, I have reviewed the video, the footage. There's also been some discussions with members of the lodge. There were some issues that happened before, but it's an A to B to C at the moment, and there's gonna be some follow-up about that, but that's all I'll say at the moment. All right, then Liberty School. So there has been discussions in closed session about the Liberty School, and there's,
Is that a closed session item?
yes,
Why?
because it was contract negotiations,
Oh, we got an
potential.
RFP, we got a contract with someone?
No, we have, the council has the right to review documents in closed session, so, that's part of what it was, and then I'm getting direction.
I didn't know we had documents about Liberty School. The last RFP that was issued, they didn't.
Just, there's been general discussions with the council so that there can be direction, so I'll leave it at that. Okay, and then Mr. Collin had asked about clearing the tracks, talked about light rail at CSX. So we have some contact information. We will reach out to him. The DPW has been out there clearing litter off the tracks. There's going to be some limb removal and things like that, but we'll go forward on that. And so I don't see Colin here, but
Colin, I can give you his contact.
sure, okay.
Can I just show one of your points? You talked about dogs at McKay. Dogs, I'm not sure that we're even allowed to have dogs at McKay.
You're not.
And when I was there the other day, I actually sent pictures in. Their dog's on the leash, their dog's off the leash, and there's, I think one of the issues, we go back, of course, to enforcement, as we always talk about, but we also talk, maybe we need to put in more signage there now too, signage and enforcement. But, so,
No enforcement.
Look.
I think the bottom line is that we have to come to reality. Our enforcement is pitiful at best.
That's
And
it.
we as the council, I believe, are gonna have to put our thumb on the scale with enforcement. And people might not like it, but we keep hearing the same thing over and over and over again. And we are gonna have to take this very seriously if you're gonna move on. Cause you know what it is? They figure, hey, nobody's saying nothing to us, it's okay. No, it's not okay. And you're right, that video is horrendous. For that guy to turn to there and say that, I think that's words, that's unacceptable. Just unacceptable on its face, and the discussion should be very quick. But it's again, enforcement. And some people don't wanna confront those who are offended. Hey, listen, it's a privilege to work here in the city of Englewood. It's not a right, it's a privilege. So, you know what, you wanna give up your privilege, that's on you. And everybody should hear the same thing. Cause you don't want that, cause if you feel that bold to do things like that, what else would you do? But it's enforcement. And if we're giving people the tools to have the ability to enforce, then they should do their job as it's required. People come here, we approve cars, we approve all this stuff, we approve the tools. So, yeah, that's right.
Okay, it sounds to me like the meeting is adjourned.
No, closed session.
Well, I was closing the public session. Okay.
Sounded like
We're going to close the public session, and we are going to be going into closed session.
I move that we go into closed session.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. We're going into closed. Oh, something just dropped.
He's here.